Boys and girls, turn to your Bible booklet. Jesus begins his ministry, and there's a page in here called the Old Rules and the New Rules. The Old Testament listed many rules that the Jews had to obey. Later, the Pharisees, those were the leaders of the Jewish people, added even more rules. Jesus gave these rules more meaning. Jesus also gave the people new rules to obey, which were often very different than the old rules. So an old rule was do not murder. Now, of course, nobody should murder. That means to kill somebody. But Jesus said, do not hate or even be angry with people. An old rule was an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. What that means is if somebody was fighting with you, you should fight them back. So if somebody hurt your eye, you should hurt their eye. If somebody bonks your tooth out of your mouth, you should bonk their tooth out of their mouth. But Jesus said, turn the other cheek. What that means is don't fight back. The old rule said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But Jesus said, love your enemies and pray for them. Now, boys and girls, I don't know if you have any enemies. But if there's somebody who you don't like very much, Jesus is telling us we need to love them even more, because it's easy to love somebody who loves us. It's harder to love somebody who maybe you think doesn't love you very much. The old law says, give to the poor so that everybody will praise you. So basically, people are just giving so that they look good. And Jesus says, give quietly and secretly. Jesus actually said, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And what he meant by that was, if you're going to give to somebody, if you're going to give money, or if you're going to give somebody something, it's not to make you look good. It's just because somebody needs that. Another one was pray loudly so that people know how holy you are. Now, boys and girls, some of the Pharisees, those Jewish teachers, they would go in a public place and they would pray really loudly, and it was like they were putting on this big show just to show how holy they were. But Jesus said, don't do that. It's not about a big show. It's about your heart. Jesus said, pray simply. Pray privately. It doesn't mean that you can't pray with others. It just means when you pray to God, it's not about the big fancy words you use. It's just about your heart and what you're saying to God. One of the old rules was put on a sad face and let everybody know you're fasting. Now, fasting is when people give up something in order to focus more on God. So some people would give up food. And so what they would do is they would put on sackcloth, which is actually like really scratchy clothes, and they'd put these on and they'd look so sad, and everybody would be like, what's wrong? And they're like, I'm fasting, I'm focusing on God, and they're drawing attention to themselves. But Jesus said, no. If you're going to fast, that's great, but it's only between you and God. It's not a big show. So Jesus presented the people with a whole different way of looking at things, which really confused the Jewish teachers and the Pharisees. And they just weren't sure what to make of Jesus.